I am so excited for you today. I'm so excited because I have a very special person on the Be Life podcast with me today, and a lady that I have absolutely loved and adored for years. She just is everything. She does it all, and her name is Lindsey Long. And Lindsey, thank you so much for taking time on a Saturday to come on and talk with me and be here with me. I appreciate it greatly.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate being asked. So thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. I want to, by the way, this is the Be Life podcast, and we're on, I think, episode 78 by now. We're growing. We're picking up more people. And as you know, the Be Life podcast comes to you from Be Life Church in Canton, Ohio. And our goal is to bring you some incredible people with great stories that talk about how they navigate the world, their jobs, different things in their lives while serving the Lord. And that's what we're doing today. That's why we're talking to Lindsey. Lindsey, you came from Colorado to Iowa State in, I think, around 98, 99, correct?
1999. Yep, I was
Okay.
17 when my parents dropped me off in college.
Wow. I know I did the same thing, but
It's
my
crazy.
parents threw me out the door and said bye and drove 15 hours back home
Yeah.
and left me there crying because I was homesick.
Yep.
Did you go through that?
Yes, I had my bags packed at semester.
Yeah. You know, I did that. I actually hitchhiked home a couple times, I have to tell you, because I got
Oh,
so
wow.
homesick on the weekends, and I was as a freshman, you didn't play.
Sure.
And so I actually hitchhiked home. My father finally told me, "You hitchhike home again, you're staying." So I went back and ended up falling in love with the place and didn't want to leave at the end of 5 years.
That's so
Um,
funny because I was told that I would have to pay for my college. So I went back
if
too.
Yeah, we end up doing that. You have to just kind of work through it, I think.
You do.
Before I go any further, I have to ask how Cody did last night.
We
Did they
lost.
win? They
No,
lost.
we lost. Yeah.
Wow.
We had too many errors. We played a good
Yeah.
team. But we were also a really good team. We had incredible fight from a really amazing group of seniors that
Yeah.
have not been the stars, in every year, right? There's you kind of have stars that lead up and we haven't traditionally been that class. And
Yeah.
man, did these guys set a new level for the program. You just have to be so proud. It's been
That's
a
awesome.
remarkable journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Cody is, by the way, Cody is the senior son of Lindsey and Andy, and he is just a phenomenal player. I watched him play last year. I went out to Iowa State. Friday night, we went to the game, and he had a dislocated finger, and they just popped it back in. He went and played. One game this year, he had like 210 yards rushing, couple touchdowns. I think he ran a punt back for a touchdown. Am I right? Tell me if I'm wrong. He had
He
an
had a
interception.
PAT. Yep, he blocked a PAT, which was in overtime that allowed us to go into a second overtime, and then he had the
Yeah,
two-point conversion to win.
he never came off the field.
No.
And he had a big write up in the paper. It was like phenomenal. 210 yards rushing, ran a pump back, blocked a PAT, scored a 2-point conversion, had an interception. I think also
Mhm.
maybe led the team in tackles. He's just a
Correct.
phenomenal young man. Uh, I, I'm sorry to hear that, but he had a great year. He had a great year. Onward
I'm
and
sad that
upward.
I'm sad that it's over, but I'm really happy and grateful that it happened.
Yeah, and you did you just being a great mom about the whole thing, even when he dislocated his finger. I'm surprised you didn't pop it back in and tell him to go back. Um, I wanted, when you, here's what Lindsey does. I want you to know who she is. Lindsay is the Senior Director of Donor Relations and Events for the entire Iowa State University Foundation. Before that, you've been doing that now for I think 3 years, right?
I'm into my third year.
Third year. That's what
Yep.
I thought. And then prior to that, she was the Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete and Letter Winner Engagement for Iowa State Athletics. Now, I got to tell you what she did. She not only had every student athlete, she put together programs for internships, for mentorships with us, with guys who had graduated, old people, and she put together a whole program for life issues where they were out serving in the community. It was like an entire program to the point where I talked to Gene Smith once when he was at Ohio State University. And Gene Smith was the AD at Iowa State before he went to Ohio State, for all you Ohio State fans. So was Earl Bruce at Iowa State before and all that. But anyway, Gene Smith said, I'm aware of what she has done. And he said, it is phenomenal. She put a program in place that literally was changing people's lives, athletes' lives, and allowing them to focus on things that were more important than sports. And now, on top of that, she was taking care of all of us old guys. And we're cranky. And we want things and tickets and stuff. We're coming out to a game. We're going to do a reunion. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And Lindsay served, and it was like, no, no big deal. I'll do it. I'll do it. And Lindsey Long can make you feel, if you're standing in a crowd of 80,000 people, which I have been where she has been at bowl games and things, and she can make you feel like you're the only person there. And I have felt that. I have felt that so many times. And she serves in such an effortless way, not because it was her job, not because it is her job, but just because she loves and she serves. There is no one like you. I mean that. I've told people this before, but this lady, folks, has a servant heart that goes beyond anything I've ever seen out of anybody else in my whole life. And I mean that totally. You're a champion for people, for us, for everybody. You make everybody feel like they're important. And that's amazing. You're
You are
important.
very sweet.
No,
You're gonna make me emotional because it's a part that I miss. I mean, just the athletics part is a piece that is so dear to my heart because it was my story.
it was, but now you're doing it with others. I'm sure you're
Mhm.
still the same person. You're
I try
just
to
doing
be.
it with other donors and everything.
Mhm.
Um, and you're still so important to us. I mean, it's not like you've left our lives. I mean, you're everybody who's still around Iowa State, all of us old people, you still take care of us. You still talk to us. You still are in our lives, an
You're
important
my
part of our
people.
lives. Yeah. Well,
You are important to me.
you are. Over the years, and we talked about this, I've known you over the years. We've talked about so many things, but we never talked about spiritual issues. We never talked about where we were spiritually. I mean, I could sense it in you. Nobody serves like you if this is all there is. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah,
what we
I do.
see in the world is all there is, you don't have a Lindsay Long because she doesn't serve like this without a higher power, without something making her love the way she loves. Am I right in thinking that your faith shaped your calling and what you're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've talked more briefly recently of just what does it look like to lead with a servant heart. Even from when you went over to Ukraine and then in Uganda, I mean, we started talking a little bit about just what does it mean to do things for others. And, I think what was difficult for me growing up was I didn't feel like I had a relationship with Christ, and I knew like religion was important to me. Um, I think I shared with you, my mom grew up Methodist, my dad grew up Catholic, and so then together they felt like Lutheran was the right religion to raise my sister and I. So I have one sister, and she lives down in Texas, and like we talk every single day. I mean, it's just how
Hmm.
important we are to each other. And uh but I wouldn't say that it was really until college that I understood it was more than just attending church or reading the Bible. It was more about living out what God wants from you and using that as your guide.
Mm.
And so using truth as your guidelines. And I really try to do that. And there was a period of time where I want to say it was going into COVID that I started doing a lot of studies and was involved in y- different like connection groups
You were still a
where I
student then.
no, so this would actually
No,
be
that's
like
right.
as
You
an
weren't.
adult.
Yeah.
Right, as an adult. So I went to school. I came to Iowa State from Colorado in 1999, and I played soccer here. That was why I was recruited to play for Iowa State. I broke my ankle in my sophomore year, and that's where things changed for me as an athlete because you I experienced a season-ending injury after a summer where our club team had gotten back together in 2000 and we won the national championship for youth. It was our last year that we could compete as a youth a team. So our club program, Colorado Rush in Colorado, we got back together and
Your cat.
sorry.
That's all right. You can have.
He doesn't like to share attention.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so so in Colorado, our program, we had all of our teammates went across the country and everybody played Division 1 ball.
Hmm.
And so when we got back together after our freshman year, we went to Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando, Florida, and we competed in nationals and we brought home the title. So I had been training
Wow.
all season, all summer. I came back the most fit I had ever been in my life, the most ready. I understood what the demand of college ball was, and I was ready. I was so ready. And a minute 56 into the first game of my sophomore year, I broke my ankle.
Mm.
I went in for a slide tackle and I my cleats got stuck in the paint, and it was right at the point where there was um there was like a collision. So she went to go kick the ball and I poked the ball out. And so she hit my ankle instead. And the official stopped the game immediately. And right then, my season was over. So everything that I had worked for that summer, going into my sophomore year, I was ready. I didn't have a good freshman year. I had a coaching change too between my freshman and sophomore year. And so I was ready for the new coaching change, and everything was taken away.
Mm.
And that drove me to learn more about myself and who I wanted to be and who I didn't want to be. And so that's where I think God really, He was always there in my life, but He really put His hand on my shoulder of saying, there's more to your story. There's
Mm.
more that I want you to do. But I didn't find that relationship until later in really understanding, kind of going back to like my passion of what did it mean to make that transition out of college and find your calling in life. I don't think I ever connected those dots. And then once it all came together, it was actually Paul's story. It was a study that I had done very early. It was Ephesians, and this was
Good
before
book.
kids. What's that?
I said it's a good book.
It's
Yes.
such a good book. I think I've studied it 3 or 4 times, and it was before kids, and it just was, man, you take the worst of the worst and become the best of the best.
Hmm.
And that was Paul's story. And I thought, man, all of the things that I wish that I would have done different, or my regrets, or what I didn't accomplish, or man, I wish I would have been this, or I wish I would have done that. It didn't matter all of a sudden.
Hmm.
And I became free from it. And that feeling of being coming free changed my life. I felt like I could be a better wife and eventually a better mom. And I hold that today is just how do you live free because of what God has done for us?
Yeah. I've been studying about faith, and you know, faith, and this is my journey. Faith comes when you finally start looking around and you say, this can't be all there is. And God brings things into our lives where you start looking around, and the first phase of faith in my life was rational. So now I know about God. I start looking around, I start questioning, and I start reasoning, and I start thinking, and I start saying, this can't be all there is. There has to be more than this. I mean, if I'm just an accident and this earth is just an accident, then nothing really matters. And then the next phase, which is what you're talking about now, you're at that phase after your ankle breaks. Then you start reading Ephesians, then you get to a personal stage in your faith. Am I right? Then at that personal stage, you actually get a call. It actually becomes personal. God actually calls you to take another step and to do something with your life with it. It changed. Now, you this happened for you during COVID. So you
So
were
I jumped
already.
around a little bit. Yeah, I
All
jumped
right, go
around a little
ahead.
bit. So I jumped back to college because breaking my ankle meant that I didn't get to lead or I didn't get to do what I only knew I was, right? So I only knew that I was a soccer player, and I only knew
Yes.
that I came to Iowa State to play soccer. And my education was, afforded because of my talent in soccer. So everything that I was, everything that I knew
Your
myself to
identity.
be, my identity, my entire identity was in the sport that I played, and I no longer could do that.
Hmm.
And so that was Lori Adams was with FCA at that time. She's still with FCA here at Iowa State. But at that time, it wasn't a group of Iowa State athletes the way that it is today. And so there were athletes from, like you would continue on through, from FCA through high school, you would then continue on in college, but it wasn't at the same level. And so I sort of felt lonely in the sense that it was not a big deal that I wasn't playing, but for me, it was everything. And I think so I kind of distanced myself a little bit, and that wasn't anything to do with, Lori or anybody else. It was truly just it was a me problem.
Hmm.
It was completely a me problem. And that was when I first started realizing that I wanted more for myself and I needed to be more, and there was a calling for me to be more.
Hmm.
But I was so still caught up in the lights and what college athletics, is, and didn't have a great experience all of the years. That was something that was really challenging. Just looking
Hmm.
back on my time, that was hard. But I do believe that, I mean, it led me to my husband Andy. He ran track for Iowa State, and this place, Iowa State, it's hard to explain, but you know this, it
I
has a
do.
hold on you.
Hmm.
There's something about this place that is so special, that you can't describe it. You
Mm.
can't describe how much this place means to you. And I think when then like fast forwarding, so my quick transition out of college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I There weren't the resources that there are today, and that was actually part of the reason that inspired me to build that programming that you described at the beginning
Yeah,
of
we
the
had nothing
segment.
when I played.
We had nothing. We
No.
still didn't, we really didn't. I mean, it was just a matter of like, well, you're an athlete, you have so many skills, you have so many transferable skills. You'll be fine, you'll be successful. And I struggled. I really, really struggled. I had three different jobs in 3 years, and I was very unhappy. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was a marketing major, and I picked that major because it was versatile, and I figured I could really be in any industry, and I like to be creative, and I really enjoyed consumer behavior. That was one of the classes that I enjoyed most. Um, but now I found myself like a pretty close to being out of college. I took a fifth year, so I took a redshirt year, and just had that fifth season to be able to complete my eligibility. And then my husband and I got married on Central Campus the following June. And so
Mm.
6 months after I graduated, I was now married. And so my identity went from like all these different shifts, and I didn't know how to be me. And I still felt like I didn't realize any of those pieces until later on that I got more connected. Because then you kind of follow this. I followed a suit of just, okay, you get married, you have kids, you get a job, and you're
You're
successful and
fulfilled.
you're fulfilled. And there's so much more than that. And it's so hard. Raising a family is so hard. Um, yeah, it just doesn't come easy. And so education is a big value of mine. And so I went back to school and I got my master's degree in educational
That'll
leadership and
fulfill
policy
me.
studies. And I
Go
thought,
ahead.
and that
I'm
was
just,
when, yeah, yeah. I mean, that was when I had two young boys, and
yeah.
my husband's working retail. So, and he has always been in his calling. He's so good with people, and he's so good with the outdoors. And he was working for
Hmm.
Jack's Outdoor, and just all of the things that you say you do, and then you're gonna be fulfilled. You're gonna make
Right.
it. It's gonna get easier. Um, and it really doesn't. You kind of have to take control of what that looks like. I proved to myself that I could be a better student. I proved to myself that I could do harder things than I allowed myself to do when I was an undergrad. And when I was looking back in reflection on my life, I really grew to understand the power of reflection. And I think that that new level of understanding at a deeper level allowed me to also grow in my faith at a deeper level, because that
Hmm.
reflection and that application into God's word and have it really be that guidepost, that's where that's where COVID really hit me. Just because so many things changed for us. But we started building a community. We built a community of people. We started learning with people. Women are really important in my life. I need to have strong women that I can rely on to have those hard conversations. And I think early in my like young professional, early childhood of kids and young wife, like I didn't have some of those relationships because all of my friends left Iowa State and I stayed.
Yeah.
So because I stayed here and that was my group of friends, like everybody else left. And even though you keep in touch with people, it's not the same. So you really kind of have to start over in this community of people. And we're called to be part of this community, and we're called to be part of God's community.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, struggled to find church families, found church families. There's so much, I think, to the story that I just am grateful for now with where I am. And it's not just about attending church. The way that I grew up learning was like, okay, if you go to church and you do these things, and you'll be saved,
Yeah.
if saved by
Yeah.
good works. Like we think about just how what false teaching that is. And
Yes.
no, it's about your relationship.
Yes. And now you had to reach a point where you said, all right, I'm done looking at all the, uh, I'm done trying. I'm not going to try anymore to be worthy because that's what we do. I
Mhm.
mean, I know I do. I did. Um, you always trying. I was always trying to prove something to people that I was worthy, that I was good at this, that I
Mhm.
was this, I was that, I was this. And see, I didn't have the fortune of finding the Lord when I was in my 20s. I was 60, where I
Mhm.
really found the Lord,
Mhm.
where I really committed my life and surrendered. And Lindsay, you reach a point, and I think you have, where when you finally surrender and stop trying and stop attempting to be worthy and stop worrying about what people think about you, and all you care about is God and what Jesus thinks about you, what God thinks about you, that you finally find peace.
Mhm.
And I can't. I've known you for a long time. You've always seemed like you had that peace to a certain extent, but maybe you have it more now than you ever had.
I'm a pleaser at heart.
You so
And I
yeah,
think and I think as athletes, most of us are to some degree, right? Because we're taught be coachable. And what how do you be coachable? Well, you please your coach,
yes,
right? So
yes,
so you carry that forward in life and people are going to fall off those pedestals. And it
mm,
really doesn't matter. I mean, you have all these false expectations or unspoken expectations or unwritten expectations that you have to hold yourself to. And it's a real slippery slope. And I have found myself in the valleys in feeling that conflict in a lot of periods of my life. And I think where I am now, and when I look back, I'm not sure I feel like there's one moment in time where I'm like, man, I feel free. But it is what you just described is this feeling of not having to please other people, or that it's not about what other people think, it's about what God has in store for you.
yeah,
And that's what I want for my kids too. I mean, that's what I want for my family. And so it's this feeling of living free. And
mm,
we talk about that. I talk about that with both of my kids. I mean, in fact, before last night's game, I texted Cody and I just said, first and foremost, you're a child of God and you're loved.
wow,
And I said, go out and do your thing tonight and have fun and play free and play free.
absolutely. It's the best advice you could give a young man or a
Yeah, because
young
you can't
woman.
control the outcome, right? We can't control
No,
the outcome in life. We don't know what's in store for us the next day.
yeah, but we are accepted
Mhm.
finally, and
And we have to actively participate.
yes, yes, and the community thing is really important too. I was reading today about you know the church and how important it is to be community. What did and it really boiled down to this: what did Christ do when he was here? He healed people. He did this. He did all these things, but he didn't write a book. He didn't give. He preached, but his whole purpose in coming here was to start a community. He started a community. He brought together a group of men to start
Mhm.
and women. I
Mhm.
mean, Martha, Mary, everybody was involved in that. And then he worked to build a community of believers that kept growing. And it tells us now what church is, because I was the same way. We went to church Easter, Christmas,
Yeah.
a couple times during the year. We had a Bible in the house, and I'm not condemning my parents. They were wonderful people. But we had a Bible in the house. It was a big old fancy looking Bible, but it never opened. We never opened it. it was just there. I think it was supposed to be there, I guess, with a rosary on it and things. But we went to church on Christmas and Easter, and I have learned, and even when I accepted the Lord, and when I really truly gave my life to Christ, I still didn't care that much about going to church. I still thought, oh, those people are hypocrites. They're going to do this. They're going to, they always let you down, that kind of stuff. I made excuses. And I said I could grow just fine on my own. But now that I've been involved in this church and feel the love of the people, feel the family, Christ Church is a vulnerable, accepting, raw, sometimes disappointing, just like all brothers and sisters are.
Because we're not
Our blood
perfect and we're
brothers
not
and sisters.
supposed to be. Yeah,
No,
we're broken.
I know. And I'm
Yeah.
sure I disappoint them and all that too. But it's amazing. And you're raising your family that way. That's what's kind of. Was Andy a Christian when you met him,
Mhm.
or he
Yep,
was?
yep. So yes, and so he grew up Lutheran, and Lutheran roots are really where when we found Hope Lutheran in Ames, and it's a church that's continued. There's several Hope Lutherans throughout Central Iowa. It really felt different having some of the roots that we were both, like we knew from our
Mm-hmm.
childhood. Um, and so I think we're most comfortable there, but also it seems less about the type of religion or the denomination and more
Yeah.
about what is important to us individually. And I think, and the other thing is, so we moved to Story City, and we became part of that community. And in that community at Roland Story High School, we have a really active FCA, so Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes a village. It really takes a village of people. And so I'm a true believer that we have to have the conversations and be open here at home, but we have to have people in our kids' lives who also lead them through truth.
Mm.
And I'm so grateful for the community that we have here that's not just within the church setting, um, because we've been in multiple churches and we actually attend multiple churches almost on like a more semi-regular basis, right? Like there's just different types of teaching that we can
Mm-hmm.
learn, but at the end of the day, it's about what we take and what we apply. And so I'm just grateful for that community of people. And our leaders here in Roland Story are incredible because they lead through the same brokenness and servant leadership that just feels really good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's
It's
it takes a village. It takes a
it
village.
really does. I wanted to ask you as you get into, and I asked this to RJ because I interviewed him, and you're on the board of his FCA, Fellowship of
Right,
Christian Athletes.
right.
And I before I get into that, I'm gonna ask you this: you're on the board. Are you totally shocked at the growth of Christianity amongst athletes, not just at Iowa State, but I heard this. You've had that yearly event that I want to come to next year. I
The
actually
Fields
want
of
to be
Faith
there, but
is unbelievable.
and it's gone from like 200 to 800 to
12.
1500
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Um, does that shock you? What's happening?
It doesn't actually. Being so I think this is where going back to school and learning about the importance of like thinking and application of education, right? Like you can apply this to religion, you can apply it to interdisciplinary things, you can apply it to education. Um, I think what we all have learned through the last 5 years and what we learned even through COVID, where it was almost like you couldn't have community because of the fear of getting
Yeah.
sick. There was so much missing that, and so I think it takes really courageous students to step up and share their testimonies, and
Yeah.
it continues to inspire the next ones. And so we've been part of Fields of Faith for the last 4 or 5 years, for sure the last 4 years, but I think it's been longer than that. So maybe 5 years. And like I'll use Cody as an example, and Brady too, but Brady is a sophomore, and so he just hasn't had quite the same amount of time. He's attended and he's heard his peers speak about their faith. He's heard Iowa State athletes share their testimony and the importance of knowing that they're part of something bigger. It's not just them. It's not the attention. They're not seeking the attention, and that there's freedom in doing that, because you're not always going to play. You're not going to be the best at every game. Like your or competition or your time. You're not going to beat your time every time you run. And so you have to process some of those things. And so it at Fields of Faith, you hear over the years these students being courageous and sharing their testimonies, and it inspires the next generation. And the next generation brings more people along because it's the community. And so we were at
You,
1,200 people this year.
you know what I'm noticing though? I was involved in FCA a little bit while I was coaching and everything like that. I was involved in that, and and it never seemed deep then. I heard a
Agreed.
lot of athletes talk, and it was kind of like shallow. Does that do you
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? But I notice there's so much depth in the young people today in Christ. They get it.
Mhm.
They're deeper. We
Mhm.
had a young man on the podcast probably about 3-4 months ago. Um, can't remember his name. He's a kicker. Uh, there's two guys with the same name on the team.
Oh gosh. Well, see, now that
One's
I
got
don't
a
work with our
T.
students anymore, it's hard
Yeah,
for me
I
to.
can't remember his name, but
Yeah,
anyway, I
that's
had him
okay.
on, and he was phenomenal. He was so deep, and he talked about the Bible study that they have
Mhm.
every Monday, and on average, about 30 guys show up, 35. And RJ confirmed that, and he said we get in there, and for the first half hour or so, we go around the room, and everybody shares concerns that they have or things that they're struggling with. And
Right.
he said, Joe, you won't believe the things they share. I mean, very personal,
Mhm.
very deep, very vulnerable.
Mhm.
And he said, it just blows me away. And I don't remember athletes ever doing that. It's like the Lord is working. There's a revival going on. Um, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting because right now, when I went to China, Christianity is exploding over there, but it's all underground, and that helps it explode. When it, for some reason, persecution brings it out, um, and they go into hiding, but it's growing like crazy. They say, Lindsey, that by the turn of the century, there could be 300 or 30 million Christians in China. Africa is exploding. South America is exploding for Christ. But the United States, the West, has been going down. I think we've reached a point in the United States, at least, I can't answer for Europe, where the young people, your kids, the kids that are at Iowa State now, are seeing what we messed up, the baby boomers, and how we got off track. And they're seeing what's going on in the world, and they're going, there's got to be more. There's got to be more than what my mom and dad, me, strove for, to make money, to get power, to be this, to do that, to have my own self-esteem, to control my own destiny. That was our terms, you know. And I think the young people are tired of it. And frankly, I think that's what's spearheading this whole thing, is that they've done what you did and said, there's got to be more.
Mhm.
This can't be all there is.
Well, and
Um,
you talked a little bit about the programming that we created, and that's probably one of my most proud professional accomplishments was like we really got to see lives change on a regular basis. Like we truly saw lives change and it was incredible.
yeah.
So much of today and so much of what our youth has in front of them and we're all at fault, right, with social media and just our phones and the access to things. It's so superficial.
Mm,
And so what you described with the Bible study on the football team and what RJ leads and others, I mean, there's so many people that do these things. It offers the depth. It offers what is not in front of our youth on a regular basis, but it's
hmm
also requiring them to step away from temptation on things too. Um, it's pretty fascinating. But people once something clicks, just like you and I have had with faith and in other environments, when you start to connect your passion or you connect mission moments, um, it changes your life. And
mm,
so
hmm
I think people are starting to realize that that exists in these groups and these communities where faith is the focus. And it's attractive because we don't have it in other places.
And everything is so. Social media has taken us down a road that uh, just warps relationships completely. Because real likes, real love, and in a relationship is now uh, substituted with by likes on a comment. I got little hearts. They even put little hearts on them. I mean, it's like the most devious thing in the world. I've got I've got 100,000 followers and I've got 50 likes on every comment. I must be popular. Um, and we look at that, and the young people now are saying enough's enough. I want I want to know people.
Mhm.
I want to have a relationship with people, and I want to have a relationship with my creator. And it's exciting to me because I was one who was beginning to feel cynical about the world, about the youth. And if if I go watch the news and I get all cynical again too, that's one of the things. I got off social media 15 years ago and I got off all that stuff. And if I turn on the news for 5 minutes, I'm hooked again. I'm back in it. I'm getting all angry about stuff. And so we have to, what is happening with you being in where you're at, RJ, the influence that you have had in people's lives, that you continue to have in people's lives, because even though you're not in athletics anymore, you still have an impact on that community, on those people. You still have an impact there, and you've made an impact in our lives. But we have to be there. We have to be out there. We have to be. That's one thing I've learned about my Christian walk is that we have to look at it. A lot of times Christians look at it as, oh, I don't want to witness to people. I don't want to do that. Well, it's not about witnessing. It's about saving people's lives. Because, there's an old saying that I don't know if you've ever heard it, but most people live their lives in quiet desperation. And it's really true.
Mhm.
I don't care how you cover it. I don't care the mask you wear. I don't care what identity you put on every morning when you go out in the street. When you come home at night and you're in bed by yourself and it's dark, or you're in bed and you have time to be alone, you're desperate. You're desperate because you're thinking to yourself, this can't be all there is. What do I do? There's a
Mhm.
hole that is shaped like God that he can only fill, and we can't fill it with stuff. It doesn't work. It fills it for a little bit, and it's like crack or something. You just have to have more and more and more and more.
Right.
So I'm, I'm ranting, and I don't want to rant. But how do you handle Iowa State's obviously a secular campus, and your faith probably isn't something that you could wear on your sleeve. People could know your faith in God,
Mhm.
but obviously you can't talk about it. So you have to listen to everybody else saying, you know, well, I hope they kill this guy or do this or I hate this or this and this, and you know that, and you have to kind of bite your tongue. How hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you're in conflict between environments, I think that can always be challenging, right? That's probably where I've really landed on what can I control? What can I do to feel good about living out my values and living out my faith? I mean, faith is one of my values. And so I try to focus on those pieces and it doesn't mean that you do what people want you to do. Like it's not the pleasing piece, right? I mean, like there's
Yes.
really you have to lean into hard things. Um, but it's my faith that I rely on to get me through those hard things and to know that I can do hard and to know that I can show people that I care about them even if I'm not giving them the news that they want to hear. That's probably one of the things that has been most challenging in my role changes, right? Because in my role in athletics, I had the opportunity to create hospitality and celebrate you all. Not that I could always give everybody everything that they wanted, but for the most part, we created environments where we offered benefits to people that they, otherwise couldn't get as easily or they weren't as accessible. So we made things
Right.
available. Um, that's not the case in my role now. It's a little different in that, and so it's always conflictive, but I have a couple people for sure on my team that we have shared some things back and forth with, but it's privately and it's not across the entire team because it's not meant to create separation or like make somebody feel less than or to
Yes.
feel uncomfortable. And so I try to think about like the inclusiveness of everybody's in their own journey, and if somebody wants to talk about faith or wants to talk to me about my faith, I'll always be available, um or I'll make myself available, but that doesn't always come up because it's not on, like, I'm not comfortable because of, I think, the role that I play and where I work, but that's not saying anything negative, to Iowa State. I think it's just understanding that we're a state school and we're a state
Yeah.
institution, and um, I want to be respectful to differing perspectives and differing viewpoints, but how can I also demonstrate my faith through my actions? And that's, I guess, what I focused on. I mean, I Philippians 4:13 is a phrase that I rely on heavily and that I can do all things through Christ. And when things get real hard, that's what's going through my mind.
Mm.
I can do this. I can do hard things. I can do all things through Christ because Christ is on my side. Um,
And you love well. You love
I try
well.
to. I try to. I
No,
try
you
to really
do.
tell people how much they mean to me.
Yeah, and you love well. You show your love, and that's it's funny because I talked to RJ about the same thing last week, and he said almost the same thing. He said he's got some donors that are atheists,
Mm,
and they still donate. And he said, and some people would say, "Oh, you can't take that money." Well, it's all money.
mhm,
When it gets into your hands, it becomes God's money.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, so it's
Yeah.
not like, hey, you're taking atheists' money, but but he loves them. He
Hmm.
still loves them.
Yep.
Um, if anything is going to change people, it's going to be someone who loves them unconditionally to show them Christ's love,
Hmm.
to show them the love that Christ gave us,
Hmm.
unconditional love. And
Right.
and and over the years, before I knew your faith in Christ, it was easy to see the love of Christ in you. Now, I didn't put that together at that time, but now looking back, it's like pff, this lady was just letting the love of Christ flow through because it was unconditional. I saw how I've witnessed how you act to people and all that. What's do you bother now as your faith gets stronger and you surrender more of your life to Him and you don't worry about pleasing and all the things that go on? Do you still plot your future, or do you
That's
try
a really good
not to?
question. Well, I am a big planner. I like plans. I like to be prepared. And there is something about having a kid getting ready to go off to college that sort of shakes that whole thing up for you.
Hmm.
And I say that because I think this year and even like early into last year, so like this entire calendar year, so maybe starting like in
Mm-hmm.
the spring, I've really enjoyed living in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
that every day is like the present. It's truly a present. Um, it doesn't mean that I don't prepare and plan for, work and plan financially and plan like all of the things
Right.
that we know we need to be responsible for. But
Yeah.
I think I've taken a different appreciation for just living in the present and also giving people space. I've learned I take part in a leadership coaching program through the foundation and I really value, again, I value learning. Learning is a strength of mine. Like it's one of my top five strengths because I just value it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I apply it in ways that then help me be the person that I want to be. And I haven't always been that person. And so it also is an important challenge for me to know that I can do this and I can help others through, my own actions. But I think it's just being present and
Mm-hmm.
giving space and not having to step in and control things the way that I have in my past or even just like even recently, but like really wanted to know everything. Like there's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not
Yes.
on your own understanding. And he'll make your path straight. Like just those kinds of things. I rely on that truth and it helps me to just live free.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. So where you're going to be 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and it's a stupid question for me to ask because I know better than to ask that question. But you're still young. You've still got a lot of life ahead, Lord willing, and everything. And you know, your professional career, and you've done so much, and you're going to continue to do more. I mean, I know where you're at and where your head is, and are you open to things? Are you open to? I don't know. Are you? Does the Lord? Do you think the Lord has you exactly where you want to be, where He wants you right now?
It's a really good question. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
I'm always open to feeling like there's more for me, but that doesn't mean that it has to be in another profession or in another place or another state. Like I don't know. Um,
yeah,
I don't know where my kids are going to go to college. I don't know if they're going to go to college. I think that they will because that's what they've been exposed to, and I think that they also value learning and education kind of the way that both my husband and I do.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm excited to see what God has in store for me and
Yeah,
for
and
everybody that I
you know,
care about.
he told he told Abraham, "Go."
Mm,
Abraham said, "Where?" If Abraham would have said, "Where am I going?" He said, "I'll tell you later. Just go." He told Moses to just go, to leave being a prince of Egypt.
yeah,
And he told
I see where
Noah,
you're going.
to build a boat, and he didn't tell him why
Mhm.
to build a boat, and it took him 100 years, and he built a boat, and he never told him why. I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting to me. I look at characters in the Bible like even Joseph. Joseph was kind of an arrogant, spoiled brat, and his brothers hated him. They sold him into slavery, and he probably would have ended up being a spoiled, rotten brat had he stayed there. And God orchestrated him being sold into slavery. He ends up becoming the ruler of the kingdom,
Right.
kind of the second in command, and he ends up saving his brothers and giving them food, and he understands who he was. And God used that whole time in prison and everything that he went through to become the man he became. And so I look at it now in my life is I'm just listening.
Mm,
What's he going to do? It's so neat to hear you say that because at a young age, as young as you are, to be at that point where you're saying, I don't know and I don't care, but I'm excited is incredible, Lindsey.
mm.
I'm just blown away by that statement. I think that's awesome. I know we've been going for about an hour, and I just want to thank you so much. You know how much you're like. I don't know. You're like a daughter. You're like a sister. You're like I just love you and your family, and you've got an incredible family, and it's you have enriched my life like you wouldn't believe. And I know you've done that to Les and to Carl and to all my teammates. And you love well, Lindsey Long. You
Mm.
really do. You
Thank you.
love well. And God is going to bless you. God is going to bring things into your life. I was reading something. I wanted to read this to you because this is the saying that I thought of when you were talking about how God, how your identity was in athletics and soccer, and how God kind of took that away from you. John Newton, you know who John Newton was okay, you know John Newton.
Yep.
You're smart. I know I should know. But John Newton said this. He said, everything is necessary that God sends. Nothing can be necessary that he withholds.
Mm,
And if you look at that, and I was thinking of you, at a point in your life when your identity was athletics, at a point in my life when my identity was being a CEO and making money and respect and proving myself to people and all that. God changes our hearts and he brings things into our life. He brought Ukraine to me, which changed my life totally.
mhm,
He brought an injury to you, which put you on a trajectory where you are who you are today.
mhm,
And you wouldn't have been there if he didn't give you what was necessary and withhold athletic success, which he
mhm.
knew wasn't necessary.
That's true.
And I think that's awesome. And um, I'm just going to say, you know, thank you. Thank you for being in my life. I hope people, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say to people who are listening to this. I don't know if there's a closing that you want to say or anything. If there is, go ahead. If there isn't, just say no, leave me
You
alone.
know, I I really appreciate this opportunity. I have not put myself in a position on a platform like this to be able to share just sort of all those life pieces that have led me to where I am today. And um, I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful for the family that I have and the friends that I have and the people like you in my life who push me to be better. And Christ is at the center of those pieces.
Mm,
And I don't have to be the loudest one for that to shine through. It's
hmm.
really through I try to make it through my actions. And so I'm just grateful, so grateful for this time with you, and I'm very grateful for you and all of
Thank
your
you.
teammates that you mentioned, plus so many others. I miss that those connections that I had in athletics because of just how near and dear to my heart those relationships were because we were bonded over so many of the same things.
Mm,
Um, but without that, I wouldn't be where I am today either. So, I mean,
yeah.
even to your quote that you shared, I'm grateful. So, thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, it's been wonderful. I wish you the best. I'm praying for Cody as he takes the next step in his life and his journey. I always pray for all of you and Brady, right? Your
Brady and Andy.
freshman,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know
Sophomore.
Andy.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And Brady's really starting to find that joy in wrestling. I mean,
Oh, good.
wrestling is a sport that is so humbling, incredibly
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And he's all in. So
Yeah,
I'm excited
you
to
don't
see
get to
what God
hide in
has in store
wrestling.
for him. You do not. There is
Yeah,
no hiding. I
I
remember
know.
Carl saying about that, just playing football and being a wrestler. I mean, just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's so demanding.
it is. It is.
So
Well, I wish you the best. As I said, I'm always praying for you, and I love you tremendously.
thank you.
You're a bright spot in my life, and please tell everybody there hello. Tell RJ hello, and
Will do.
I hope I hope people watch us. I want to ask people to. I hope that you enjoy this time. I mean, the idea behind sharing these lives, Lindsay's life, RJ, other people that I've had on, the idea behind it is to let you see that people in Christ, people who have faith in God, are real people, that they're not church people, that you get the idea that they're judgmental, they're this, that they haven't been through anything, that they've had life easy, that they're looking for an escape in God from the real world. Well, it doesn't let you escape. Christianity doesn't let you escape from the real world. So I hope you see these people, and I hope each week when you see and hear from these people, you say something like, hey, that's a little bit like me. That's what I'm missing. That's what I'm looking for. And that these people aren't people who are hiding behind Christ. They're living their lives in Christ. And so I hope you see that. And I hope if you like this podcast, that you would continue to help us grow and help us bring more people into this and somewhere down the line have Lindsay back again. But that you would like us, that you would like us, that you would hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube, that you would subscribe to us, and that you would follow us if you're on all the other platforms like Apple Podcast and TikTok and everything else. I don't even know what they are. But if you're on a platform, follow us. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to us and hit the like button, please. We'd appreciate it very much because it allows us to get out to more people. And that's what our goal is, to spread the news of what Christianity is all about. I want to thank Lindsey Long for being with us today and taking time with us. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll join us again next week. We'll be back next week to talk to you and have another guest. God bless. Have a great week.